It's very rare in franchising where you get a brand that has the equity that Magnolia Bakery does, where pretty much everyone has probably heard of it in some form or fashion, whether it's from Sex and the City, from SNL, from the product, from being in the city, from being overseas, from being LA or Chicago, but that it has as much white space with which to develop.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising One-on-One podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. Today, we are going to welcome one of our franchise partners to discuss their brand. Today's featured franchise is actually pretty new to franchising in the US, but it is a brand that many people already know about, even though they're really only in New York City. People know about it because of their incredible product. Oh my gosh, amazingly tasty. That has created a kind of a cult-like following with people all over the world. If that sounds amazing, just wait. It definitely is. Before we get to them, quick reminder of who we are. FranCoach is the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal has nothing to do with selling anything. We're not here to do that. We are here to properly educate people on franchise ownership to determine if you should own one. If so, we're going to help you find your absolute best fit. I promise you, there is not a best franchise, top franchise, or best industry. It is individualized and personalized. What is best for you is all that matters, and that's what our team is here to help you with. Now, let's get to our incredible guest today. All right, everyone, we are back, and joining us today, our featured franchise of the week is a amazing franchise from a consumer standpoint. I'm totally going to go fangirl on a couple things here as we talk to them, but it is Magnolia Bakery, and joining us is the CEO and also CBO. We got to figure out what that is. It is Bobbie Lloyd. Bobbie, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Tim. Thanks for having me.
We are excited to chat, and we got to understand all the things about Magnolia Bakery. But first of all, what the heck is a CBO?
So that's my fun title that I created as a Chief Baking Officer, because you don't automatically think that a CEO would actually be someone that makes product, that makes baked goods. But my first love is baking. So I had to incorporate that little title.
I love it. If at any point you need a test dummy for any product that you're trying, just let me know. I am happy to I will take one for the team and be your guinea pig for that. So
great.
We certainly want to chat all about Magnolia Bakery, but I love the people side of, I think franchising just in general is so much about the people. How did you you've been with Magnolia Bakery for a long time now. How did you kind of get into all of this and then ultimately turn this into a franchise?
So I've been with Magnolia almost 19 years now. And franchising did happen quite by accident for us. We are a retail bakery, small at the time. This was in 2010, and it started in 2009, actually. We got an invitation to open a location in the Dubai Mall in Dubai. Wow. With Bloomingdale's. And my partner and I at the time kind of was like, how can we do that? We're not set up we have no idea how to do that. No. And Bloomingdale's came back to us and said, we really want you. We're going to do everything we can to make this work. And they were creating this kind of cityscape where it was like a long corridor down the center of the Bloomingdale's home store with little New York City shops all along the corridor. The front-facing location, Magnolia Bakery. And so we said yes. We went to Dubai. Grand opening was February 1st, 2010. And it was just a very big deal for Bloomingdale's. It wasn't the grand opening of Magnolia Bakery, but certainly we're there. Right. We were the store on the mall side, the very first location that you would see walking past Bloomingdale's. Huge media event. I have the chairman of the board of Federated Bloomingdale's next to me, Mauren Traub. The other side of me is the CEO, little old me in the middle. And they dropped this big, gigantic black curtain with massive amounts of media out front. And a group of women scream, "Oh my God, it's Magnolia Bakery." So what we learned
in Dubai.
in Dubai, which we thought, hey, if it doesn't work out, nobody's going to know. It's
Right.
Dubai. What we learned from that was that Dubai is the gateway to Southeast Asia and to the rest of Europe and Russia. And it opened up the floodgates to zillions of people wanting franchises around the world. And so my prior partner and I looked at each other. We're like, well, I guess we're franchising now.
Excellent. That's fantastic. And you do have several around that whole region, correct?
More than several. Internationally, we have 37 locations, I believe, as of today.
Oh, that's
so we
fantastic.
are all over India. We're in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Jordan, Qatar, Kuwait. We're everywhere. Philippines,
Excellent.
Turkey.
Excellent. And we also have apparently our boy Jason got out of jury duty, so should we let him in?
Let's let him in. Open that door.
Okay, so tell everybody. I'll let you do the reveal. Who are we allowing to join us today on our fun?
So Jason Mattis is our VP of Development and Sales for domestic franchising. Jason joined us, I think, end of March, early April of this year. So really at the time when we were launching our domestic franchise program.
Yes, awesome. So we will let Jason in, and we won't tell him we've been talking about him behind his back. There's Jason.
Jason,
Hey, just completed my civic duty.
Well done. Thank you.
We were talking about you behind your back, Jason, and it was mostly good stuff. So don't worry too much about that. But things
We'll present the bad stuff never happened.
Exactly. We'll edit that out. It's all good. So thanks for joining us today also. And Bobbie, I want to come back and you talked about kind of the franchising thing. How did Magnolia Bakery even come to exist?
Magnolia opened almost 30 years ago. So next year we will be celebrating our 30th anniversary, which is a big deal, especially for a New York City retail bakery. Restaurant and hospitality businesses don't typically last that long unless it's some kind of mom and pop handed down generation to generation. So Magnolia was in a quiet street corner in the West Village of New York City. And, it was beloved. People just felt there was this thing that resonated with them. It's like my grandmother made desserts like that. My mother made desserts like that. Nobody makes desserts like that anymore. But my feeling was that in the 40s, 50s, a lot of immigrants came to the United States, into New York City. And what they do, they opened up little corner bakeries all over New York City, Queens, Bronx, Brooklyn, really all over America. I grew up in a small town outside Chicago. We had that little corner bakery. And what did those families do? They sent their children to college to become doctors and lawyers. And so when it came time for them to retire, there was no one to hand the bakery off to. And that corner bakery really started dying off in the 60s and 70s and ended up in grocery stores and became more formulaic from a mix, whatnot.
Right.
And so Magnolia really came about at the right time, where it was, let's go back to the basics of bake from scratch. Bake from scratch in small batches, do it the right way with quality ingredients. And we bake at almost all of our stores, currently bake on site so that consumer can see, literally our guests know that there's the oven, there's the person icing my cupcakes, there's the person scooping the pudding. They see it happening.
Yeah. And so I think in franchising, just where we really aren't all that smart. So it's pretty obvious what a brand does based on the name, Magnolia Bakery. We are from a bakery standpoint, but you guys have amazing things all over the board, but you have one product that is so special. At least the location I've been in, there was a line just for this one product. So what is this amazing thing that everybody...
Banana pudding. And I have to tell you, I did not grow up with banana pudding. I grew up in the Midwest. It wasn't something that, was in habit. It was very much a Southern style dessert. I get a lot of people that say, oh, my mom made that, my grandma made that. We don't fight with grandma. I'm sure grandma's is the best. But we introduced it to the world. You find it in a lot of places now. But prior to Magnolia, you might find it in, the South, Atlanta, and you might find it in Texas, but you never found it in the Northeast.
Yep.
So we have put it on the world map, literally on the world map.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I grew up in the Midwest as well, in a small little podunk town in Indiana, and I don't remember really growing up necessarily with that. And but when I moved to the South, then all of a sudden that became a thing, and then you get into in the South and in Texas, and there's barbecue, there's banana pudding, and I'm like, kind of the first time I had it, I was like, oh my gosh, where's this been all my life? And was definitely the experience. But it is so popular. There is a line for if you want to order banana pudding, and then a line for everything else in the menu. So, which if that tells anybody how good it is, that should be all you need to know.
We get customers who come in every single day to get their banana pudding, and we had to introduce a small size because the guilt of eating a large, 14 ounce or 16 ounce cup every day was a little too much. So we introduced the smaller size. But when we went international, it was very interesting because they'd never heard of it. They didn't know what it was. And so we had to do a lot of tastings, a lot of marketing to get it. But as soon as people tasted it, because especially in Southeast Asia and the Middle East, they love sweets. They absolutely love sweets. And they love pudding because a lot of those countries are based sort of on English style desserts or Middle Eastern style desserts, both being quite sweet. And they love it.
Excellent. Yes, as do I. And Jason, tell us a little bit. We're going to back up to you for a second. And the first thing I threw at Bobbie was I like hearing stories of just the people and how they got into this. And so give us a little bit on kind of your background. And I know you've been at Magnolia for a short period of time, but in franchising for a while. How did all of that come about?
Completely accidentally. I wish I could say it was a master plan. It wasn't. I had just got done playing professional sports. I had tried my hand. I got my 7, my 63, was working on Wall Street, had a couple of shekels put together, saved, went into business with my father-in-law. We owned a pizzeria in Williamsburg, New York, which is in Brooklyn. And my wife was going to school in the city at the time. She was my girlfriend. Decided that she wanted to get another degree, and she wanted to, get that degree down in South Florida. So we basically sold the pizzeria, sold the building that the pizzeria was in, and basically literally just, drove down to South Florida. She enrolled in school, and this is in December. So she was, joining for the spring semester, and I found myself kind of idling, like, what do I want to do next? My first real job after I got done with my playing career was in financial services. And so I started to look at, okay, what did I like about that experience and what did I not like about that experience? What were my strengths versus what were my weaknesses? And then I also looked at, okay, I liked owning my own business. How can I can kind of combine what I think is the best version of myself that kind of combines the two? And somebody mentioned to me about, well, there's this franchise show that you should go to, and it's called the Franchise Expo South. I guess it happens every January. So I was like, okay, well, I don't have a job. I need to do something. So let me go see what this is all about. And I literally went to the Franchise Expo South in January of 2003, looking for a franchise to potentially invest in. And I was immediately overwhelmed. It was like really above the shoulders, decimal points acidic. Like when I thought of, I thought of franchising, I thought of McDonald's or Subway. I didn't realize that there was a franchise of a different make and model for so many different types of people and industries and businesses. It was very overwhelming. And so, I started to walk the booth, the booths. There's probably 300 different, franchises exhibiting. And I didn't really find anything that I was doing the proverbial backflip or somersault over, but I did meet a guy. His name was Delray Lefevre. He was the VP of franchise development for a company called NetSpace. His background was with the Dwyer Group, which is now Neighborly. And he goes, listen, he had played football at SMU. He learned about my professional career. We obviously had a lot of synergies there. And he goes, listen, it sounds like you have a pretty good head on your shoulders. You're relatively young. You got this experience. If you ever want to invest in a franchise, why don't you learn it from the inside out? And he offered me a job, literally in the aisles of the Franchise Expo South, and said, "Listen, come learn franchising from me. I'll show you how it's done." And that's kind of how I got started. So it was completely accidental. I really fell into it. And I tell Bobbie this all the time. I can't imagine now, 22 years later, doing anything else. It is the most exciting, awesome. It's the most impactful business model anywhere on the planet. I've worked with thousands of folks in helping them transition from, corporate America or a business to a second business or to a business for the first time. I've worked with a lot of great brands of different makes and models and helping them take a really strong local regional brand and help nationalizing the footprint. And I got lucky with Magnolia Bakery because I've been a part of really good brands. I help, with Vitamin Shop, with Pet Supplies Plus, with Salad Works, and Retro Fitness. I've partnered and I've helped grow some very successful brands. I am absolutely smitten with Magnolia Bakery. It is a brand first, people second, and a product third, which is saying something because a product is out of this world. So the people are even like out of this world times 10, and the brand is out of this world times 20. It's just an unbelievable brand. Bobbie's an unbelievable leader. And it's very rare in franchise where you get a brand that has the equity that Magnolia Bakery does, where pretty much everyone has probably heard of it in some form or fashion, whether it's from Sex and the City, from SNL, from the product, from being in the city, from being overseas, from being LA or in Chicago, but that it has as much white space with which to develop. Because usually when you're looking, and you've been franchising, Tim, so you know this, usually when a brand is that well recognized, there's very little turf to develop.
Right.
And if there's a lot of turf to develop, usually the brand equity is not significant. And really the franchisee, him or herself, is kind of helping that franchisor build it and helping nationalize the footprint. It was just right place, right time. Bobbie and her team and our private equity company were looking to kind of incubate this U.S. franchise program for the first time. They felt that I was kind of be the right candidate to help them do it. And Bobbie, it's been about 6 months. We're just getting started. So I'm super excited. Yeah. I'm super grateful for Bobbie for giving me the opportunity. And again, Bobbie, she's a CEO, she's a chief baking officer, but I call her founder 2.0. Is that she really, what you see about Magnolia Bakery, the product, the brand, the culture, it's really, it's who she is. And I love that. And I think that's why there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity moving forward with Magnolia Bakery, because you have a CEO that's invested into the business herself, that understands the business, and that most importantly wants to grow responsibly and the right way with the right people in the right areas. So it's kind of like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
Jason gets unlimited banana pudding.
Yeah, I was going to say, I figured there was a catch in there somewhere. So, right. So, I might have taken the job just for that. So, but Jason, I love this. I love your story, and the accidental nature of getting into franchising is, this is, we're almost to 260 episodes of doing this. I've had exactly 2 people that was not their answer. And both of them were born into it, right? Their parents were in franchise, so they didn't have any choice. Everybody else, myself included, it's some random thing, and then here we are, right? We may wear different hats along the way, but once people get in, they don't they don't get out, right? So now you've got this brand that so many people already know about, and now we're looking at really expanding in the U.S. Talk a little bit about kind of that person you're looking for as an owner. And you guys know this, there's the myth sometimes of like, oh, well, I must be a baker to be able to own, right? Or I need to be this to own that franchise. Is that the case with you guys? Or what are some of the things you're really focused on in an owner?
It's not necessary, really. And it's something that we really look for brand love, which is such a big part of this company. I don't think that's hard to find because it's not just a business transaction. We want people who really care about the brand. And I know Jason and I he worked on it, and then I added to it, which is what we call the qualities of a franchisee that we look for, the 4 C's. And Jason added the capital, capacity, and commitment. And then I added community. And I'll let Jason take the first 3, but community is incredibly important to us as a brand, is that in fact, here in New York City, we have 8 locations. But in each location that we're in a neighborhood, we're in a community. Yeah. There's a different type of customer in each location. And we definitely want to play to that customer, whether it is a franchisee, whether it's a commuter, because we do have a couple of train hubs, or a tourist. that's coming to New York, or someone that lives down the block and has a 3-year-old and wants to come into the bakery. And so we want to work closely in those. We want franchisees who know their community and know it really well. And then Jason will go on.
Yeah, and there's some breaking news, Bobbie, because I have a 5th C, and I'm breaking it on the show today, and I think you're going to absolutely love it. And if you're not, then Tim can just edit it out. So you talk about the 4 C's. Bobbie hit on the first one. I'll talk about the 5th one after, but it's community. Then it's capital, right? You have to have the financial wherewithal to successfully incubate and develop the number of bakeries that you're hoping to develop. Because as you know, getting into business for yourself, I think a lot of people would like to do it, but it's just, you have to be, you have to have financial bandwidth which to do it successfully, right? So That's pretty objective. It's like, okay, do you meet and exceed these minimum requirements for development? The second one is capacity. I know a lot of different franchisors. They look at single unit developers. They look at only at like these large form development deals. I think Magnolia Bakery, and kind of where Bobbie and I landed on, is somewhere in the middle, which is we're looking for somebody that has the capacity to build a minimum of 3 bakeries, up to 5 bakeries over a 36-month time period. And so, kind of capacity and capital are kind of intertwined. The third one is commitment. You've heard this in franchising. There's these buzzwords: absentee, semi-absentee. Just make this investment and watch the money pile up. I mean, that you and I both know that's a little bit of hogwash. That doesn't exist. I've never seen anybody that wants to successful without rolling up their sleeves, having the dirt of the business under their fingernails. And so for us, we're looking for people that want to be involved in their business, especially initially. Doesn't mean, to Bobbie's point, they're going to be the baker, but it means they're going to be involved in the business. And this is going to be a very important investment and brand within their portfolio, whether it's a portfolio of 1 or 10. We want to see that commitment to Magnolia Bakery and its growth and success from that candidate. And then the 5th C, Bobbie, that I want to add today, again, breaking on the show, is cultural alignment.
Cultural what?
Cultural alignment.
Okay.
I say cultural alignment because we talk about the brand, we talk about the people, and we talk about the product. At the end of the day, I think Magnolia has really created this culture. And it's bigger than its product, it's bigger than its people, it's a brand. It's much like Nike is. I mean, Nike doesn't sell shoes, they're a lifestyle company, right?
Right.
People don't look at Starbucks as, I call Starbucks $7, but it's really not the coffee, it's the experience, or it was. And I think with Magnolia Bakery, it's the culture. Like when you go into our bakeries, people are happy. They're celebrating a milestone, a life event. They're eating the banana pudding. They're having a full loaded icebox bar. Whatever it is. And so I think really for us, we're looking for people that share that culture and that alignment with who we are. So part of it's kind of being that ambassador of our brand, because as you know, we don't have a second chance to make a first impression into a new market. And so for us, I think, being culturally aligned with our sweet values and what those represent, not just to us, to our employees, but to that owner and his or her employees and to his or her customers, I think is something that hopefully, Bobbie, you agree, that's kind of it's probably an important seed to add. And the great thing about what Bobbie and I are doing, it's going to evolve and grow over time. Certainly, there's certain boxes you have to check, and they're probably more objective in nature. But I really think it's a subjective thing. It's the fit within the alignment of the philosophy of the brand of what we're doing and how we're doing it. Which I really think, if we're going to make this thing grow and be as successful in the future as it has in its past, I think that cultural alignment is mission critical to the end objective.
Yeah. I love the word happy, right? Like it seems such a simple thing, but part of, especially if somebody that is leaving the corporate world to do something, this is kind of their first business, you're probably leaving that job because you didn't really like it, right? It wasn't fun. You weren't getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. And now you get to have staff that they're going to enjoy their job. They're seeing smiles across the counter at them. They're probably seeing a lot of the same faces, right? And so when you talk about the sea of community of that owner being that brand ambassador, and what a fun thing to be wearing that on your shirts everywhere, because people are going to be hitting you up everywhere you go wearing that thing, right? And so that type of personality is really key.
I like to joke that when I get invited to a dinner party, if I don't show up with banana pudding, I get that sideways glance like, what? Why didn't you bring it? And it's like, you're not inviting me, you're inviting my pudding. So just ask for it next time.
Yeah, you're secondary. Like, hey, if we add Bobbie, maybe she will bring 10 gallons of banana pudding. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, you're invited to our next party, Bobbie. So we'll make sure we have that. So as you are looking, I guess, what kind of prompted you guys started really overseas, and you've got such a great presence in and around New York City. What was kind of the thought that went through, hey, let's take this thing throughout the United States?
So as I mentioned, we're almost 30 years old, and our international division really started quite by accident. We have a few starts and stops. Some of it was COVID. Some of it was also an acquisition to our current PE firm, RSC Ventures. And when we were acquired in 2021, literally it was supposed to happen in 2020, but COVID kind of put a pause on it for a little bit. But after the acquisition, we put a plan in place to really build the infrastructure of our company for the next level. The first thing was to build a C-suite team. We never had a C-suite team outside of myself and my prior partner. We needed to find a chief marketing officer and a chief financial officer. I used to wear all those hats. That's a bit much. But when you're a small company, we had 10 bakeries, and we had our international bakeries and an e-commerce business. We could handle that internally. So it was building infrastructure, build out a C-suite team, develop a 3 to 5 year plan with a strategy behind it. Then it was really push our e-commerce business. We rebranded the company because we had this beautiful logo. And actually 30 years ago, there technically was no logo. It was just the name, the Magnolia Bakery. That was it. There was no other visual connected to it. We had created this other logo that was really gorgeous, but that was before Facebook, Instagram. There was no social media. And that beautiful logo didn't work in the digital world. It really didn't work in the print world either, other than on packaging. So we hired a big agency. We did a rebrand. We created our sweets values. We launched a CPG product. So we're kind of right on track for our 3 to 5 year plan. Year 3, we launched a consumer product good in grocery. We launched a wholesale business. Now all of these things are moving. Now we can attack franchising. So now that we really wanted to have that infrastructure in place. You don't want to start out just because you have a strong brand name and not have the resources financially behind it and not have the infrastructure behind it to be sure that you can support the growth of those domestic franchises.
I love it. And it ties into the fun R word Jason used earlier. That's buzzy, and franchising is responsible. Is like, hey, I think we've got one location here and it seems to be doing okay. Let's see if we can get 1,000 of these around, right? Like that's just disaster typically. So thank you guys for being so strategic and smart and patient with that. And now we're ready to go. Jason's on a diet of banana pudding all day long, so he's got the energy to be working with all of these potential owners. Obviously, there's a bakery, there's a location, there's stuff. What does, for you guys now, as you're looking at the franchising domestically, what's kind of that box that we are looking for a location and some of the things that go into that?
Jason, why don't you take that one?
Sure. I think what you'll be impressed by is, I mean, obviously, Magnolia's brand equity exceeds its current points of distribution, and people, we're known for our banana pudding and our buttercream. But I think to Bobbie's credit and the team's credit is that they've also carefully curated a business model that's engineered for the franchisees where they are, right? We're not trying to replicate what we do in New York City. New York City is not replicatable anywhere in the world, certainly not here in the States. So, but we're taking what we know works, right, with our model, our footprint, and we're looking at, okay, then how do we value engineer that to nationalize the footprint? So for us, the box will look one in two formats. So again, somebody's doing 3 locations. That first location must be what we call a flagship location. That is a full bake on site from scratch every day, 1,200 to 2,000 square foot store. If it's 2,000 square feet, we call that a flagship hub because now it has baking and storage capacity to support a no-bake location. So again, that first location has to be a 12 to 2,000 square foot flagship location. It's the best representation of the brand. It encompasses all 4 revenue channels, full bake experience. But then if you have a 2,000 square foot flagship hub, that then can support up to 1 to 2 no-bake locations of 600 to 800 square feet. Now, from a consumer, you really wouldn't know the difference, but as an owner, you would, because one, a 1,600 square foot, less equipment, less cost to build, less occupancy cost. And now your labor can be spread out because you don't need a baker on site, because the person doing the baking is at your flagship hub location that's supporting that second location.
Excellent.
So that's why, again, you need 3 locations, but that's why the model works.
So and when you're looking at 3 locations, it also helps you from an investment standpoint. Location 2 and maybe 3 might be a lot smaller, so it helps you get those up and running quicker, less cost, all of those things, right? So kind of using that.
Part of the hardest role, I think, to hire is the baker position. And if it's not you, the owner, you want to spread that cost between several stores, not just one location, because that's a key component. It really is. That person is so essential to training future people, quality assurance, product control, launching new products. All of those things really matter. And we do this all over the world. So the U.S. is going to be a little bit easier because we're doing it in countries where we're not there on site on a monthly basis. We go once a year to do an audit.
Yeah. And you've got with franchising, it's here's the business in a box and here's the recipe for how to run the business. But this is literal recipes for all of the different things. And then how does the franchise help with, I guess, all of the stuff, so to speak, that we are using to bake all of the amazing products that are there? How are you guys helping those owners that are going to be around the country with this?
So the great thing about that, and I bring up the international again, because you're baking from scratch, which means flour, butter, sugar, eggs, chocolate, and dairy. Do an algorithm of those ingredients. We use 3 kinds of sugar, 2 kinds of flour, 2 different kinds of dairy. You could make about 1 billion products using all of those ingredients. And in fact, as we look at how we create and innovate new product, we try to use what we already have in the house. We may add a new fruit, but we're not changing the base recipe. So we can train people internationally because we specify the type of ingredient. Domestically, not only are we specifying even the brand of sugar, the type of sugar, it's a granulated white sugar, but it has to be Domino because we know that it's going to be consistent all the time, no matter where you're getting it from. And we support the supply chain for them through either a broadliner or making sure that they're getting the ingredients in their local market through their local distributor, because it's through this chain that we use across the country.
Yeah. Yeah. All of that stuff, again, just it puts everything in place, makes it nice and easy for the owner. Is follow the recipe on the recipes, and then you're in good shape with this.
Yes, don't mess with the formula is what I always say. So even internationally, again, we're teaching people all over the world how to do this. We create, and I like to use my vanilla cake recipe as an example. The vanilla cake recipe is white sugar, eggs, flour, butter, vanilla. Pretty simple. It's the leavening. If I swap out the white sugar for brown sugar, now it's a caramel cake. If I swap out the milk for strawberry puree, now it's a strawberry cake. So it's the same recipe, the same process, the same formula for making it. You're just swapping out ingredients. Add chocolate chips to it, it's a chocolate chip cake. Add Oreo cookies, it's an Oreo cake. So it's not a zillion separate recipes. It's either inclusions or swapping out an ingredient. So we make it pretty simple. So when we talk about, do you have to be a baker? The answer is no, but you also don't have to be a pastry chef. There's a level in between. I'm a baker. I'm not a pastry chef. I never call myself a pastry chef because even though I am professionally trained, I do American style desserts, which are pretty easy to make, and your mom can make them at home as per the cookbook. So if somebody's sitting there, I think one of the things, regardless of the franchise, people always have fear around is, oh my gosh, how am I going to find the right people to work in my business? And how am I going to keep them? Hiring a baker is not a common thing people have done or been around. What are some of the ways in which you guys are going to help owners kind of wrap their head around the comfort of finding that person or persons to be that baker? So we have recruited around the world, including our own stores here, 8 in New York City, 1 in Chicago, 1 in LA. We've also had stores in Boston and DC. What we look for in the local market is a culinary-based person. It could even be a prep cook. Like one of my head bakers in one of our bakeries here in New York City was my chef in another restaurant that I had. He was never a baker. And when I was moving to open a Magnolia Bakery, he said, I really would like to come with you. Can I do that? I was like, sure, I can teach you. It's someone who can understand the basics of cooking and the structure of a kitchen.
Right.
So it doesn't require that you have this incredible pastry chef experience, but you can learn how to do it. Sometimes it means give bonus incentives, give potentially equity so that you're creating a partnership. You are going to spread the cost of that person across your entire minimum three bakeries. And that's part of your upfront investment. Hire the right person.
Yes.
You might spend a little bit more upfront, but you want them to be with you. You want them to be with you for 5 years. You want them to be there so that they're developing and training the next level below them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in general, but all the people we talked to, and literally right before this was on the phone with a client, looking at a brand, and here comes the fear on the labor. Doesn't matter what the labor is, there's always going to be that. And again, just understanding all of the support mechanisms franchisors have in place. And then for all the concern about labor issues, it's really leadership, right? If you are going to build a culture and a team where people want to work for you, guess what? They're going to work with you. They're going to stick. They're going to refer people, all of those things. So
we have people that have been working here for, we do an annual Sweets Gala. So our mission statement is SWEET, SWEET, sincere service, wholeheartedly, enterprising, exceptional, and together. And we do an annual awards. We have 2 bakers who've been with the company 27 years.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Wow. Right?
Yeah.
They're still hourly employees. They don't want to go into management. They're not looking for this career path where they're going to take on more responsibility. They want to show up to work, do their job, do it well, and receive the accolades for a job well done. And then they can go home and be with their family. 27 years. We have a ton of people that have been with us more than 15 years. And we find that internationally as well, that they have been building teams over a period of years where that team member who could start as a counter staff could eventually evolve into a manager, who could evolve into a general manager. Yeah. And so it's all about that growth path in your career.
Yeah. And you start them in the first location, and maybe now you're grooming somebody to take over the second location or third location. Again,
exactly.
All of that stuff from a leadership standpoint. So love that. Jason, you've been in franchising a long time. You worked with some amazing other brands. And now you're coming here. Is there anything, when you look at owners that have come into any brand and been successful, is there any particular trait or skill that you have seen that they have, regardless of the brand, that helps them succeed?
It's funny because my mind went to, what caused them not to succeed, right? Undercapitalization, right. Kind of over promising and under delivering in terms of their financial, bandwidth or their capacity. Not really kind of building for the revenue ramp, because people think, okay, I buy a business and all of a sudden magically it's going to come in. No, it takes, rolling up the sleeves and getting to work. And there's a period of time, you go from, point A to point B to point C to point D. It's a process. And I think people that have been most successful in franchising, and I'm going to exclude kind of the financial component for a second, is their ability to follow a process and a system. And the second thing I'll add to that is somebody that wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Meaning, you buy into a franchise because of their system, because of the fact that you can leverage folks like Bobbie or Eddie or Dom or Federico or the wonderful team they have at Magnolia Bakery. Use that. I sometimes find people make this investment, they do their due diligence on an opportunity, and then for whatever reason, they don't leverage the system. They don't leverage the what I call the managerial know-how, the systems, the people, and they kind of do it themselves. And I think the third thing, and you're getting along with an answer because I'm very passionate about this. The third thing is that you got to be an active listener. Meaning, I think sometimes they don't communicate. If something is going good, I want to know that. If something is not going good, I want to know that too. If it's somewhere in the middle, we got to be communicating, we got to be listening, and you want to be a part of something. You join a franchise to be a part of something, again, bigger than yourself. So be a part of it. Be it, and most franchise companies that have grown, and I don't care if it's McDonald's or Subway or, insert franchise A, B, or C in there, it's because of those initial franchisees that want to be a part of something, that want to be part of that brand, that basically partnered and collaborated with the C-suite to help those brands move forward. And I think that's really, really critically important, is to be engaged in that process and understanding that, sometimes to be truly successful, you need to own more than one location, right? Sometimes you don't.
Right. And I love that you're talking about utilizing the community, and as an owner, get out in the community to build the brand. But the internal community you have of, if something's going on and you have a question and you don't raise your hand, or you don't reach out to how many different people in a franchise system could you reach out to? Not just the franchisor, but there's other owners, right? Reach out. It's somebody in there is going to want to help. And then ideally you want to be the person that can help. Here comes that new owner. Somebody put their arm around them because somebody did that for you when you got started. And I think, exactly. I don't think we talk about some of the internal community and support things. Yes, there's the initial training and support and follow the plan, but talk to people, get to know everybody around you. Everyone there is to help you succeed, because they're trying to do the same thing. And even other owners, the more all the other owners are killing it, it makes it better for you as well. So I love that component.
Yeah. One of the things we do internally for our company is a pulse survey twice a year. We want to understand how our own team views us as leaders in the company. And we get an enormous amount of feedback doing that helps us as we're doing our planning for the following years. What else do we need to incorporate? How else do we need to communicate? We're seeing that each year and every time we do it, we're improving, but there's still some things that we know no one's perfect. We can still improve. That is how we will work with our franchisees as well, is we want to know, and it's blind. We don't know who's answering it. We don't know. It's anonymous, right? So it's a great way to get feedback about how we're doing our job.
I love it. And the brand's been around a long time. Bobbie, you've been there for a while, but we're constantly looking at new ways to grow and innovate, because it'd be easy to just go, no, we're Magnolia Bakery and mic drop and just write it out. But you guys have a super cool new product that you are developing. Bobbie, please tell everybody about this amazing thing.
So I have had this lifelong Magnolia Bakery quest to bring banana pudding into grocery. And I probably started it about 17, 18 years ago, trying to develop a product that would be shelf stable for 6 weeks in the refrigerator section. Guess what? It's impossible. It's impossible for two reasons. One, bananas turn brown. It's what they do. You put them in a refrigerator, they're going to turn brown. The second one is the longer banana pudding sits, the softer the wafers get to the point where they eventually just disappear. Right. And if there's a few out there in the market, I actually was at I was driving to Ohio from New York on Route 90 and stopped at a truck stop, and there was a banana pudding in there. It was awful. It was really quite awful. But the big takeaway from that was that the wafers were complete mush. So about 4 years ago, I had the brain, one day I woke up and I was like, so where are the two things I need to fix? One is the banana. So instead of doing sliced bananas, because banana pudding is actually a misnomer, it's vanilla pudding with sliced bananas and vanilla wafers. It's not banana pudding. So it's let's just take the banana slices out of it, use banana puree. So that would solve the problem of brown bananas. The second component was the wafers. How do I solve that problem? Well, it meant suspending them in place. How do you suspend? Freeze it. So what we created was a thaw and serve banana pudding. So it's a very cool product. It means that we freeze it, but you thaw it. You can eat it frozen if you want to. Okay. You can also take it in and out of the freezer 3 times, freezer to refrigerator. If you can't eat this 14-ounce container in one sitting, I think most people do.
You're not trying hard enough. Let's just be honest.
Trying hard enough. Well, you can. You can take it, thaw it out to refrigerated temperature, eat it, put it back in. It is a phenomenal product. The way I describe it to people is that it is different than the fresh-made pudding, which you get in our bakeries, but it's equally as good, if not better, because it is true banana pudding, and it is suspended in time. So we have now developed 5 different flavors. We're in the process of developing our 6th flavor. It is not available in our own bakeries. It's in a different channel. It's in the food service channel. It's available through third-party platforms like DoorDash, GoPuff, Wonder, different markets like that. Eventually, though, we will have this available in our franchise locations. kind of like an ice cream store would do, is you can go in and get your scooped ice cream that you're going to eat right now,
Right.
but you can also take a pint home to enjoy later.
Excellent. And regardless, it's just continuing to help grow the brand recognition, which is always going to help franchise owners.
100%.
And the other thing you have, Bobbie, I want to make sure we mention is if somebody's like, I want to bake something, do we happen to know of any good books, Bobbie, that they could read or buy to get some good baking tips and recipes?
Yeah. So I've written 2 books. The first one came out in October 2020, which is the Magnolia Bakery Handbook, 150 Desserts for the Home Baker. Second book just came out this spring, which is the Magnolia Bakery Handbook Volume 2. And this one is Icebox Desserts. And it has a giant chapter of banana pudding and then another chapter of banana-less puddings. So it would be like apple crisp pudding or peach crisp pudding or roasted strawberry chocolate pudding. So it's a great, fun cookbook. I've had a lot of people buying the book, especially this time of year. It's perfect for summertime.
Excellent. And where might somebody find one of those wonderful
You
books?
can find these books everywhere where books are sold.
There you go.
So literally online, Amazon, and any store where books are sold. I really think most, even private small companies are selling the book.
Excellent.
And of course, in our bakeries, you can buy it in the bakeries.
Excellent. And magnoliabakery.com is the website. And certainly if you are in New York City, go check this out. And then in the US, we're in Chicago and kind of LA at the moment. And then Jason, this is going to be in every city and town throughout the United States in the next 2 or 3 days, right? We should be able to get that done. That seems responsible. But definitely for anybody that's hearing, I want to throw one last thing at you and I'll let you guys go. What are we missing? Or if there was one more thing you guys wanted to share about Magnolia Bakery for our listeners, what would that be? Maybe we haven't talked about.
I will add that we also have e-commerce, so you can have your banana pudding and cupcakes shipped across the country for you. And you'll find us in some airports. We're in LaGuardia. We have a license deal there. So that was technically our first franchise in the LaGuardia Terminal C with Delta, and growing. So our goal with Magnolia Bakery is to bring Magnolia Bakery to you wherever you are. So if it's franchising in your community, we want people to experience that made from scratch, quality product and ingredients, so that you can order a custom cake, so that you can bring cupcakes to your kid's birthday party or baby shower. We celebrate Magnolia is used to celebrate every one of life's special moments. And I have met people, and I'm not kidding, around the world who have told me about their Magnolia Bakery experience and get very emotional about it. Because as Americans, we celebrate with desserts.
Yeah.
So everything we do is with desserts. And whether it's your mom made it or you're getting it from us because it's just like what mom made, we want you to have that experience in your community and in your home.
Excellent. Jason, anything else you might want to add about Magnolia Bakery?
Yeah, I would just say, I'm the new kid on the block. And I think for me, what I've learned is there's a lot of brands over my career that spans almost, 22, 23 years now of franchising. Is a lot of them talk the talk. They say the right things. Some do the right things, some don't. I think what's been really, I don't want to say surprising, but what's been very really great to know and learn is that Magnolia Bakery, by far and away, walks the walk. They can say they have the best product. They do have the great product. I'm not a banana pudding person. I love their banana pudding. My 6-pack is now a cake. When we talk about a true brand, they are a true brand. And their brand far exceeds their points of distribution. People are amazed when we say we have basically 10 bakeries here in the U.S. They think that we have far more. And I think, when we talk about responsible, it's easy to say, we want to kind of, our motto is go slow to grow fast. A wise person once told me, if you want to open up a bunch of locations, open up good ones first. And so Bobbie and RSC, we've kind of partnered together to do this the right way. And we are going to do it the right way. We're not going to outkick our coverage. We're not going to award more franchises than we can support. And we've had a lot of internal conversations about this. Yeah. And I think, and so again, for me, it's easy to talk the talk. It's difficult to walk the walk. I think Magnolia Bakery walks the walk, and I'm just so much so, and Bobbie knows this, I've been a franchisee of other brands before, and I'm trying to, I had Bobbie Armin, like I'm trying to get her to say uncle. I'm trying to become a franchisee myself with Magnolia Bakery.
Excellent. Well, I just can't thank you guys enough for coming on today to talk about the amazing thing that is Magnolia Bakery, and excited to witness the growth, and hopefully one of these will get near at least one of the places I live very, very soon. And I wish you guys all the best of luck, but thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having
Thanks for having us, Tim. Jason, glad you could make it.
I know. It was by the hair on my chin.
Thanks again to Bobbie and Jason from Magnolia Bakery for joining us today. Check out their website. I want to try that new banana pudding product that can get shipped to me. Sounds amazing. But if you want to learn how to bake, check out Bobbie's books. Also looks pretty tasty there as well. Want to thank you, all of our loyal podcast listeners, for tuning in every single week. We hope this Franchising 101 podcast helps provide some insight into the truly amazing and incredible possibilities that are out there in the world of franchising. Be sure to, if you have not, follow, share wherever you get your podcast. Also, check out our YouTube channel, FranCoach 4U, the number 4, the letter U. All of our podcasts are there. There's a bunch of other videos, as well as our Franchising 360 show episodes. They are there also. When you are ready to chat, remember, there's never any fee for our service. You can find us at francoach.net. It's where our entire team is. So reach out today. Let us help you create your better tomorrow. Until next week, we'll see you then.